Okay, Christina, I am streaming us over to hang out with our mystery and thriller fans over on a Mighty Blaze. We're so excited to host you, and everyone's excited to meet you.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here.
And it looks like we are live. Welcome, Mighty Mystery fans. I'm your on air host, Sara DiVello, and I am thrilled to host USA Today bestselling author Christina McDonald, whose brand new book, Do No Harm, is out today, and it is burning up the charts and getting blazing reviews. Christina, welcome to Mighty Mysteries. Tell us about your book.
Hi, Sarah. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for having me. So, Do No Harm came out last Tuesday, so it's available now. It's about a doctor, Dr. Emma Sweeney, whose son is diagnosed with a really rare form of leukemia. So she makes the very risky decision to start selling opioids in order to fund his life-saving treatment. But of course, lots of stuff goes wrong and somebody ends up dead. And a game of cat and mouse ensues while her husband, the Townsley detective, ends up investigating the case. So ultimately, Emma, she has to decide if, the ends justify the means while she's trying to save her son. But meanwhile, her husband, Nate, who's a detective, is also trying to find out, how did this person die and why are all these drugs rolling into his town?
Oh my gosh, layer upon layer of tantalizing themes. And I can't wait to get into every single bit of it. I just want to pause very briefly and welcome all our friends on Facebook. My partner in crime, pun intended, Margaret Pinard, my fellow author and Mighty Blaze member, is handling things over there. Margaret, thank you so much. And I want to welcome Anissa. I want to welcome Patricia. I want to welcome Kathleen. Welcome, everybody. We're so excited to have you. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, here's the drill. I provide you access to our featured authors, and you can ask her anything. So you can ask Christina about Do No Harm, about her writing process, about the themes. I mean, there's so much to talk about. So just go ahead and type those comments right in the comments. Type your questions right in the comments, and we'll get them right over to Christina, and she will answer them live for you today. Now, I know it always takes me a moment to think of my questions, or sometimes 3 a.m. the next day. So while you're thinking, I'm just going to share a few words of praise that this book has earned because, wow, the praise is just rolling in. So, real simple raves, Do No Harm is an intense, emotional page turner that is impossible not to devour in one sitting. Wow, amazing praise. Booklist says McDonald's third domestic thriller delivers a jaw-dropping plot. The suspense, along with the body count, ratchets up with their every encounter. Oh my goodness, yes. Crime Reads says that Do No Harm is a cross between Breaking Bad and Kohlberg's theory of moral development. Whew, I know there's a lot of Breaking Bad fans in the audience. Let us know if you're one of them. Pop Sugar says readers will quickly become fans of Emma, Christina McDonald's protagonist. Now, I know we all love a great protagonist. The last review I have to share is from 38-time Emmy award-winning investigative journalist and winner of every single mystery award there is, Hank Philippi Ryan, who's also been on the show. And she raves, this book is devastating, heartbreaking, and incredibly timely. This risky and brilliant examination of when the ends justify the means will captivate you from moment one. Wow, Christina, this is just such amazing praise. And I could go on and on and on, but I want to get down into the dirty details with you. So tell us, why this book? Why now?
So I wrote this book. I actually wrote this book about a year and a half ago, and it came from a place where I've watched my brother struggle with addiction for a really long time, for most of my adult life. So it came from a place in me where I was watching my brother struggle with addiction and so many people in America struggling with addiction. And it's just been a massive thing. I mean, I think, just probably nearly everybody has been, at least knows somebody who has been affected by the opioid crisis. So it's been forefront of my mind for a really long time. And I wanted to set a thriller against the backdrop of that and really bring in a lot of themes and a lot of, just like meet book club chat stuff about it. But the thriller aspect, the actual plot, the story aspect came about one day when I was reading a news article about a podiatrist in Indiana who was arrested for starting an opioid ring. And I started thinking about, you know, when you're a writer, you know yourself, you're always thinking about your character's motivation. So I think about things in real life. I read the news and I'm constantly like, well, why did they do that? And how
Mm.
did that happen? And what was their motivation behind it? So I was really thinking about, why did he do that? You know, was it power, or was it money or status? What was it? And the only motivation that I could think in any way would make any sense to me was love. Doing something like that for someone I love, for my own child. Like, I would do anything for my children. And I'm sure most mothers would. So what if you put a mother in this really horrible situation set against this really horrible crisis?
Mm.
And what would be the impact of that? So I wanted to kind of, you know, tease out the themes of the opioid epidemic and the very vastly different positions. And it's a very multifaceted problem that we have. So I wanted to kind of talk about that, but also write a story that is interesting and at the end of the day, entertaining and takes the reader to a different place. So that's kind of where the story came about, in a long-winded way of telling you.
Wow. And I love that you were just reading the news and saw this podiatrist who started
Yeah.
selling opioids. I mean, a Breaking Bad kind of story there.
Yeah.
And that was the spark, combined with your own personal experience with your brother. And as you said, it's so relatable. This is, a real life crisis that we have going on in
Sure.
the US, and everyone is impacted. So, and I
Yeah.
love how on the page you brought in this fascinating extra level, just ramping up the tension of her husband being a
Yeah.
detective investigating this. Wow. How'd you think of that?
So when I was first writing it, I was only going to write it from Emma's point of view, that my
Mm.
protagonist. I was only going to do the first person, really get in her mind and see things from her point of view. So as I was writing more and more scenes between her and her husband, Nate. And I was kind of like, actually, I could really bring in some tension here if her husband isn't just a guy that supports her and is loving, but if he's somebody that's actually, you know, on her tail the whole time. So I decided to then add him in. And that wasn't initially in my, like, I don't do any plotting or planning anyways, but I definitely written a good, probably 25% of the book before I was like, wait a second, hold on, I need to go back and I can really ramp up the tension here. So then he came into it and I had to really stop for a while and figure his character out and figure out, you know, what his backstory was going to be and how this was all going to play into his life as well. But I love the relationship that developed between the two of them, and they have such a lovely marriage and they bring so much to each other's lives, but they're ultimately devastating each other at the same time. And I found that really interesting to write.
Ooh, that's so interesting to write. And I just love that you thought of that. I feel like I would never think of that. And it's so clever and just a way to immediately take the tension from a
Yeah.
simmer straight up to a boil.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Christina, how long did it take you to write this book?
This is the fastest book I've ever written. And I think that's because it's I connected with it on a very emotional level, you know,
Mm.
because of the opioid epidemic and whatever. It was 3 months to the day that I wrote the first draft. However, I did do quite a few months of research because just it's the type of book it is, because
Mm.
the child does have leukemia. I didn't know a lot about leukemia, so I did have to do quite a lot of medical research before I did sit down to you know, write the book. So I did a good 3 to 4 months of research
Mhm.
in and around those few months before I started writing. But once I sat down to write the book, it flowed out of me. It was just one of those books that felt really natural to write. It was just a breeze. And I have learned that that's not always the case, because I've written other books that have taken me ages. And I really do struggle to maybe connect with the character, and I have to build them up a bit more, create like a more 3D human, or maybe the plot doesn't work, or I just kind of hit against a wall.
Mm.
But this one, I had none of those problems. It was like every day I showed up, and like I said, I'm not a plotter, so I never planned what I was going to write. I would just show up and I would get inside my characters' brains and I would write and write and write and write. And it just felt so great, like so easy and great. And it was like the book, it was like the most dreamy, amazing book to write in that aspect. It really kind of showed me again my love of writing, because it was so good. So just good.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. You're getting so many hearts up on Facebook. And Nissa
Oh.
is saying, wow, 3 months.
For a first draft.
Amazing.
Let me
I know.
just clarify that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
For a first draft.
Okay. Okay. So then how long after that was it?
So then there's always months of edits because, you know, I have to send it. I send it into my agent. Once I've finished to the best of my ability, I send it into my agent and she gives me edits. Then I do edits. Then we send it into my editor. She gives me edits. Then it goes to copy edits and proof. So, you know, it was like a year in edits. But the actual first draft of getting the story and the plot and everything out, it was very quick.
Wow.
This was one
Woman,
of those.
teach me your ways. That's like,
Well,
I mean,
other books have not been that easy. I think this was just kind of a dream book.
amazing, amazing. And I think the authenticity and the heart with which you wrote it is coming out on the page, and people are resonating with that, and the reviews are
Thank you.
showing
Yeah,
that.
I hope so.
Yeah, really cool. And Nissa, a top community member here, is saying, wow, 3 months. What is your favorite part of the writing process? Is it writing, editing, research, or something else? Yeah, tell us the, give us the
It's
skinny.
writing. It's just exploration of the plot and the characters. You know, I don't do a lot of plotting and I don't even do a lot of character sketching or anything like that. I have a basic idea of what I want the plot to be about. And I have, with this book in particular, I knew that my protagonist was going to go on what's called a corruption arc. So she was going to gradually get worse. And because I knew that, I think I just inherently knew where the beats needed to fall. So I wanted Emma to go on a corruption arc because I wanted the reader to understand that, you know, people can do really bad things, but have very noble motivations. And so I wanted to really lay that out, as well as I wanted them to see that there's a lot of people, a lot of corporations that are to blame for the opioid crisis, like, you know, manufacturers, pharmacies, doctors who wrote the script, you know, drug dealers. There's so much blame to go around. But until the system is fixed, opportunists are going to continue trying to cheat the system. And so I thought it was really important for me to show Emma doing these really horrible things, but for a good reason. And do the ends justify the means? And I wanted the reader to really think about that, and set amidst the backdrop of the opioid crisis, to really think more on a deeper level about that too.
I love that. Now tell us about the title, Do No Harm. Obviously that's part of the Hippocratic Oath. So
Yeah.
the first thing that doctors have to do is to be promised to do no harm. She's a doctor. Did this, you know, was this title number one? Was it 101? Did you come up with it? Was it a collaborative effort? Give us the skinny.
So all of my titles in the past have all been a collaborative effort. This one is the only one that hasn't changed. So I called it Do No Harm from the beginning, simply because of the Hippocratic Oath and because she is actually doing harm. So I really wanted to kind of like, you know, and I wanted to kind of have a play on like, is she doing harm or is she, you know, saving someone's life? So I wanted that to really feed into the story. So it was kind of my working title, but my editor loved it and we kept it all the way through. But I mean, when you write a story and you turn in a book and you kind of, you can give a working title, but your editor or the proofreader or the sales team, marketing, anybody can change the title along the way. So this is the first book where we've kept the title the whole time. So this one, yeah, I thought of the title and I loved it because it really played into the story and we kept it. And yeah, I'm really happy because I do love this title.
Wow. And once again, just part of this effortless, the easiest book, you know, this flow, this in the divine flow here. I'm just trying to get the camera to capture it. The title as well as the story just flowing. Yes. Yay. There we are. And this is saying, what a great title. I love it too. And I love the, you know, the cover of this woman sort of looking over her shoulder, clearly being hunted by, you know, a lot of, things that
demons.
Exactly, inner and outer. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us, Christina, are you a morning writer? Are you regimented? Do you just write when the spirit moves you? What's your daily process look like?
So it looks a bit different now than it used to, just because of the pandemic, and I have children at home that I'm homeschooling. So pre-pandemic, the kids would go to school and I just write when they're not home because I cannot write when my kids are around. It's like mommy brain takes over and I can't create things amidst chaos and loudness. So I just write when they're at school, and then when they get home, homework and dinner and all that stuff. And if I'm on a deadline or if I have edits, then I'll work at the weekends as well. But now during the pandemic, it's been a bit different. So I realized early on that I was not going to be able to get anything written while also homeschooling. So I started waking up really early. I started waking up at 5 a.m, and I'm not a morning person. And just trying to write for a few hours, I just needed to have a bit of, quiet and space and, just peace to write. So I just found those few hours in the morning, and I would get up and I'd write for a few hours, and then I would start the day of homeschooling. So yeah, once the kids go back to school, which hopefully they will next month, then I will get back to my routine of writing when they're at school.
Exactly. And do you try to write every day or?
Yeah, so I write Monday through Friday. It's kind of like a regular job, 9 to 5, except for I'm, maybe 9 to 3 or so. And then I quite often do my own author interviews, and I run a book club, and I do my own stuff like in the evening after the kids have gone to bed.
Oh,
So, but yeah, I do try to stay quite regimented. Like I treat it like a job. It's 9 to 3, and try to really take it seriously and write every day. I don't write on the weekends because that's when, that's family time. So I don't write then. I'm not one of those. I have read about authors who are like, I have to write for 1 hour every day. I don't do that. I kind of, I just write Monday to Friday whenever I can, and then take the weekends off unless I'm on a deadline, and then get back to it on Monday again.
very cool. Very cool. Now, we had some questions submitted in advance from some mystery and thriller fan groups. So I want to be able to get to those, make sure I get to those.
Yeah.
So the first question was, this person says she is a huge fan of all of your books, and she is wondering what advice you have for aspiring writers.
So I think that aspiring writers need to, rather than being motivated, be dedicated, because we can be as motivated as we want in our mind, but you have to be dedicated. You have to show up and get those words out of you every single day. And there's a lot of rejection in this industry. You can be at any stage in your career and still get rejected and still not sell a book. There's a lot of rejection that happens. And I think that we, especially new aspiring writers, need to not take that personally and take every rejection as something that can fuel them on rather than tell them to stop. So, if you get a rejection on a manuscript, I think that can show you how much do you actually want it. Do you want to keep going? Because if you really want to keep going, you should do it. But if you're like, oh, I can't be bothered, well, then maybe that's not the career for you, because writing is a journey, and every single book is different, and it's a hard journey. It's a hard job, and it's full of a lot of lows and a lot of rejection. And I think it's just important to definitely be dedicated. You have to be motivated too, right? But more than motivation, find dedication.
I love that. And it's so true. Not only is there a lot of rejection, but once you finally make it through all of the hurdles, and you're getting tons of hearts up from Facebook. Thanks, Facebook. We love you. Once you finally make it past all of those hurdles, you get an agent, the agent puts your book out on submission, you get a publisher, you get through hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. You actually write a whole book, and it gets accepted, and it's going to get published. And then you put it out there, and then you're vulnerable to bad reviews.
Yeah.
And sometimes those can hurt too. So do you have a practice or a ritual or advice for, what do you do when it does hurt? What do you do when, are you completely immune from rejection, or do you have do you have a cookie,
I think
cookie and a drink?
When I first started out, I wrote a book, and I got an agent, and I submitted to over 90 agents before I got my first agent for my first book. And then that agent took my book out on submission to publishers, and it didn't sell. So if it doesn't sell once they've submitted it widely to publishers, that's it. Your 100,000 words is gone. You got to put it in a drawer, and you got to move on. And that was devastating. But it was also good because it showed me, actually, I do want to do this job. I do want a career as this. So I spent another year. I wrote another book, and the same thing happened again. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I should continue. But
Right.
I did. I picked myself up and I continued, and I wrote what was then The Night Olivia Fell, my third book. And that did sell. And so did my second one and my third. But the point is that you have to just, I guess you have to compartmentalize a bit. Do you know what I mean? You have to go, okay, so if you get bad reviews, if you get good reviews, you're going to get bad reviews. If you get acceptance letters, you're going to get rejection letters. So it's all kind of about balance and just staying kind of poised throughout and just kind of find, like, don't put all of your self-worth into yourself as a writer. Like, be a more well-rounded person and know that writing is an amazing skill, and it is something that takes work to do and takes time to craft and make better. But yeah, it definitely does hurt. Those rejections all hurt, but you have to just kind of brush it off, and know that there's going to be good times too. And any high is going to be countered by a low, and any low is going to be countered by a high. And you know what, when it gets to reviews, you have to accept the bad with the good, because there's going to be lots of good ones, but you don't have to read the bad ones.
Exactly. Only
Yeah.
read the good ones. That's our new motto. Welcome, Nancy. Welcome, Mike. Mike is from the Thrillaholics group, one of my favorite groups on Facebook and in the world. So Christina, let me ask you this, without any spoilers, what is your favorite scene in this book?
Oh, I can't tell you because it's right at the end.
Okay, is it at how close to so that we know when we get there, how far to the end do you think it is?
It's right by the end. It's right by the end, and it features Emma and another doctor.
Okay.
And that's all I can really say without giving it away. Okay, I really like those big climactic moments. I love writing them. I love reading them. But if I tell you, then I'd have to kill you. No, just kidding.
Well, hey, exactly. What happens on Mighty Mysteries stays on Mighty Mysteries. Yeah. We are here for it. Okay. So everyone, when you read this book, Christina's favorite scene in her own book is at the end. And it's a scene between Emma, the protagonist, you're getting hearts up on Facebook, and another doctor toward the end. So we'll all read that.
Yeah. Let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear.
We'll know what the creator herself likes the best. What's one thing you want people to feel or learn or have experience when they walk away from this book?
I guess I want people to be able to look at addiction from a different perspective. There's a lot of ways that people tend to look at people who have become addicted.
Yeah.
We as a society tend to think that addiction is just solely for homeless people or unemployed people or whatever. And you know what? It's not like that. Like, my brother is a totally normal guy. He got in an accident. He fell off of a roof and broke his neck, and like a vertebrae in his neck. And he ended up being prescribed opioids. And he very quickly his body got used to that level that they were giving him. So they upped his dosage, and they kept upping it. So he very quickly became addicted, and that's just how it works. And so I think that it would be really great to be able to maybe give a wider opinion, a wider idea of how addiction works. But then on the flip side, there's a lot of people in chronic pain who do actually need opioids in order to have a normal life. So I want people to maybe look at the many sides of the opioid epidemic, but also I just really want them to be enraptured by this story and caught up and just maybe escape for a few hours. Don't we all just need to escape for a few hours? That's what reading is so good for, especially right now. We have so much going on in the real world. So let's escape into some trauma in the fake world.
Yes, let's escape into the trauma. And I think what I love about reading is the chance to walk in another person's shoes. Yeah. Exactly as you said, to go into these pages and to walk in someone's shoes who is a person who is totally different than mine, whose shoes are totally different than mine, whose journey's totally different than mine, and to see what's that like over there. So I'm excited for that.
It gives you the ability to live 1,000 lives. And I love that, because I have total FOMO about all the lives everybody else is living. Like somebody's living in Italy. I want to live in Italy. Like, you know, all these different lives and things to do in the world. And I think writing and reading gives you that ability to kind of, yeah, live 1,000 lives amidst the pages of a book. And I love it.
Exactly. Totally. You know,
Yeah.
like in my life, I have chosen a child-free life. And I always think, what would the path, you know, not taken be
Yeah.
like? What would the path of motherhood be like? What would it be like to homeschool right now?
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, I'm actually okay over here. but it's good to see. It's good to know, because you
Yeah.
always wonder about the path not taken, unless you're
Yeah.
not paying, unless you're just blindly going along. And who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Nancy's saying, I just started the book today, and I also appreciate the highlight of insurance companies' control over
Mhm.
medical treatment. Oh, Nancy, thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
So that's a real thing. So when I was doing the research for this book, I stumbled across this information that Josh, the little boy who gets leukemia, he has this rare form of leukemia, and the only treatment that they can give him does actually cost $450,000 to $500,000, and it isn't covered by insurance because it hasn't been FDA approved.
Oh,
So, you know, if you have someone you love, anyone you love, and that's the only thing that can save their life, and it costs that much, like, what would you do to, you know what I mean? And I think it's a huge problem in America. You know, health insurance is a massive problem. So
yes.
I kind of wanted to bring that in as well. It's, you know, part of the plot for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So I mean, and I think the other thing that I love is when someone takes real issues like you have and weaves it in very cleverly into in between the covers of a thriller. So,
Yeah.
you know, because clearly mysteries and thrillers are my favorite genre. I love the pulse pounding excitement. I love the fast pace, but I love when a book makes you think, and yours
Yeah.
does, for all of these reasons. I mean, you're talking about big issues here. So
Yeah.
this is so cool and very exciting. All right, we have 3 minutes left. It's the lightning round. If anyone has any last questions for Christina, get them going in the comments. Okay, from the Mystery Writers Cafe, do you have any weird writing rituals or habits?
I wouldn't say it's weird, but I do listen to trance music while I'm writing. Hardcore, like raver trance music. It makes me think faster. And I need music going on, but I can't listen to like pop music or anything with lyric because I'll type it if there's lyrics in the word or in the song. So I can't listen to that. So I listen to like raver music.
Oh my God,
That's
Christina, that's so funny. So you're just like,
yeah, I'm like,
wait, how did you discover that that's how you write best? Were you just in a club one night and then you're like, I feel inspired, I got my pages down?
No, I used to go out clubbing a lot when I was younger in college and loved going dancing, and I just always loved that kind of music. I don't know. So when I sat down to write, then I realized that if I'm listening to pop music or rock or anything with lyrics, I actually started typing it. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. But I do like to have music going on. So then I put on the trance music, and away I went.
Oh, wait, for all 3 of your books?
All
Or
of them,
actually
yeah.
5?
Yeah.
Oh,
3.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is so funny. This is so funny. So sometimes I'll put on you when I can hear my husband on his Zoom calls or whatever during pandemic life,
Yeah.
I'll put on bird calls or sort of spa music, but
calm music. I'm
clearly
not manic.
I'm missing out. Oh my gosh. I wonder what the other
Yeah.
moms at your kids' schools would know if Christina's
Oh,
at
I wonder
home
what they listen to.
writing these mysterious, thrilling, somewhat, you know, violent books,
Yeah.
rocking out to trance music.
Trance music, hardcore dance.
The secret sides of Christina McDonald. You heard it here first in A Mighty Mystery. I always pry one secret out of my guests, minimum of one secret. Christina, what's one thing that you wish I'd asked that you want to tell us that you'd like to share with our readers today?
Oh, put me on the spot. Okay, I'll tell you the book that I just downloaded. How about
Ooh,
that?
yeah.
So I just downloaded a new book, and it's actually it's it's not available yet, but you should pre-order it. It's by Megan Collins. It's called The Family Plot. And it's about this woman whose father dies. And so she goes back home to bury the father. And when they go to bury the father, the long missing brother, his body is buried in the plot.
Oh my God.
I know. So I'm like still at the beginning, but it's such a like captivating elevator pitch. Like I just love it. I'm so excited to read it. And I love Megan Collins. So yeah.
Megan's great. She was on the show when her book came out in August for The Red Door, and she's fantastic. And I love her. And you know, she teaches classics at a high school, so it's so cool. She has all these different levels of her personality as well. Oh my gosh. Well, Christina McDonald, it has been amazing having you here again. Near USA Today bestselling author Christina McDonald, author of Do No Harm, is our guest today. Her book is out today, and through our very special partnership with bookshop.org, which supports independent bookstores, you can buy this book today and you can support indies. It's a win-win-win-win-win. Again, this book is earning incredible praise. Real Simple raving that it is an intense emotional page turner that's impossible not to devour in one sitting. So make sure you got a cup of tea and a comfy seat and possibly a puppy to cuddle you. Book list, crime reads, pop, sugar, raving. Kathleen saying this was fantastic. Thank you. Hey, Samantha Varant. Good to have you here. One of our Blaze authors. A chef in Paris, I believe, or maybe she's in the south of France, actually. Anyway, she's a wonderful author. Good to have you here, Samantha. Nancy saying thank you. Nancy, thanks for joining us. Thank you to all our mystery and thriller fans. It's been so great to have you. And I will see you next time, actually at 4:00 today, with the author of Until We Are Lost. Christina McDonald, thank you so much. And come back and see us when your next book is out.
Yes. And thank you, everybody. It was so nice to talk.